The viewers want to see more work being done, so I figured I'd film.
Then come by. Pay by the hour. How's that?
It's kind of smart-assy, actually.
That's why they watch.
And you hate when people come over, so...
I actually do.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have any friends.
Did you get that corner piece figured out?
No, I'm working on it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got this. So that's nice.
You welding that all up?
Yeah.
It's very nice.
That's how I do. I lay it on, and then I take the grinder and I slowly cut it so it lands in there flush, and then I just do a couple spots, and then I cut more, and then I just take it off from the inside. Where is it here? That's how much I cut off of there.
Oh, nice.
So I have a
So is that what you did up here too?
Well, I haven't cut it there yet. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, I
That's
see.
right.
Okay, see how this is what he's talking about. It's up higher here. Right here. So he cuts it off so it goes under.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I just have it so it's a little bit higher, then I cut it, and then it's got just it's only the thickness of the cutting wheel, thin cutting wheel, and then I just slowly spot weld it back and forth, and then I just work my way along, and there's no warpage. It's all nice.
That's
I
awesome.
grind it smooth, I grind it on the inside, and then it's just a light smear. Not even a body fill. You can even just do a lightweight whatever on it.
Yeah.
Oh, we have a customer.
Oh, all right.
Okay, so let's continue on here. Sorry, we had to do a pause in the video because we had a customer. Like I say, we don't edit our videos. So, I'm getting back to you when I'm already done. But anyway, as Lisa was showing you when I was welding here, what I do is I cut off the complete quarter panel. Inside the quarter panels on all cars, they're spot welded inside the edge of the door. They usually spot welded somewhere up underneath, usually around the part of the inner rocker. Obviously, they're always spot welded in here, which is attached to your outer wheel tub, and then usually across the bottom, which is along onto your inside quarter panel. Drill them all off. Then what I do is I cut the quarter panel off, and I leave some overhanging. Not a lot, just maybe anywhere around 1/4 of an inch. I fit the new quarter on top of the car. This is hard to get in the area, guys. Sorry about this. We're just jammed on the hoist here and I can't move it. I set the new quarter, I put it up in there. My main concern is when I first set it on is I'm not concerned about the top. I make sure that everything is fitting tight up and along here and along in here. I'm more concerned about that. Once I know all that is fitting good and everything's okay, then what I do is then it's time to actually get more clamps on it and get it in position. And like I say, I leave, if you saw on this one, I left like 1/8 of an inch, and this quarter had overlapped it. Then I just take my zip wheel and I cut it, and that's the perfect amount to weld. Because when you're butt welding, you don't want to sandwich something together like that because heat expands, right? So what's going to happen? You get warpage in that. You've got to leave a little bit of a gap there. Or at least in my opinion. There's many different ways of doing this. This is just the way I do it. I've done it this way for years. Then when it comes time, when you're all done, and you've cut it, the thin little piece falls off from the backside. You grab it out, you've butt welded it nicely here, you run your little sander in the backside. You never have any idea that you even welded a quarter panel on the car. You just don't know. Now these quarters, when they came up and actually went over to the top like that. This, in my opinion, is not a good place. Now some guys might have took the quarter, put it on top here and cut it. That is not a good place to cut the quarter panel. It's a weaker spot. You're going to get all sorts of distortion and everything going on. So what I did on the new quarter panel was I cut it right on the body line, because a body line is a nice spot. It's structurally, it's sound here. When you got a piece of metal coming down and then bending down, this is a strong point compared to somewhere like that or somewhere like this. So I had originally cut this quarter panel on the body line. So then when I had left the car, if you understand what I'm saying, I left 1/8 of an inch in the car. So when I put the quarter on, there's still 1/8 of an inch of metal on this car. Then I just ran my zip cut right along on it. And that was it. It's all butt welded in, if that makes any sense to you. And again, you go spot down there, spot here, spot there. It's a lot of spotting. You do it that way, you know. I mean, at the end of the day, this needs like just a light skim of putty or body filler right over top of there, and away we go. Now, of course, you're always going to sand the quarters down. I was looking at these quarters. You probably can't see it if I get the camera down here side. They all come with some little dings and dents. You're not going to, you guys may not see this in there, but there's a little something going on right up in this area. There's a little something. It's just natural. And then, of course, like I say, before you even put this on, we jumped here a little bit ahead. Before you put this quarter panel on, you should drill it out where you're going to put your welds again. Because remember now, this was factory spot welded. When you weld it with a MIG welder, you're called plug welding it. Spot welder's a machine they actually use. Then we don't, I don't have that machine. I can't do it identical. Some people will leave this afterwards. They like the look of the factory look. Majority of my customers want us to do a little bit of body work over it. They don't want to see that. I personally like seeing all the little spot welds. That shows me there's no body filler in it. When the spot welds are missing, I'm like, oh, there's body filler. But I know why there's body filler. People just don't like the look of it. But still, it's a telltale that there's body filler. Because there should be little spot welds along in here. That just should be factory. Same as in your door jamb. Let's get around here. If you look here, see, I still got a spot weld there, spot weld there. See, like, they should be there. So, that's the way it is. So anyway, the upper half is welded in. I've done across the back. I've got a couple spot welds. You can't see. You can see the clamps down here. I've got a couple on the back side there. You see the clamp there. I've put a couple down there. I kind of jump around a bit. You don't just do one section and then go to this section over here. Because sometimes you do that and you can create a wow in it. So you don't want to do that, in my opinion. Like I say, everybody's got their own way of doing things. It's only metal. At the end of the day, it is only metal. You don't be afraid to play with it. Something like that you may not want to start out with. When I started welding, I'm not ticketed by no means. I haven't read the book. I don't know the proper terms. I just know how to set the welder and how to go. That's what I need to know. Started when I was like in my, I don't know, I think I bought a welder when I was 21. I've been around welders prior to that, but you don't want to see that. Anyway, so I bought a welder when I was 21, and I just played and played. And I played with pieces of metal on a bench and learned the different settings on welding on my own. And then the first thing I started out on, if you're new and you're scared, the first thing I started out on was I went with floor pans. Because with floors, it's like, who sees it anyway? So it didn't matter if your welds aren't the best, they're sloppy. It's a floor. You can grind it down, you got carpeting going over top. Most people are going to undercoat their car anyway underneath, so no one's ever going to see. So I started out with floors, and I never even started out butt welding. I started out where I'd cut the rust out and I'd leave it over, I'd overlap it by like a good 1/4 of an inch to a 1/2 inch, because I was scared of butt welding, because I was scared that if I cut it, I wouldn't figure it out and I'd get huge warpage, and or the panel would fall through and I wouldn't be able to get the piece in there, and it just started that way. And I just slowly kept practicing and kept working at it, and here I am today. Am I the best welder out there? I wouldn't say that. Like I said, I don't think I'm the best at anything. I don't think anyone is the best at anything. So anyone that does, well, you got a bit of an attitude. I do my best. I do my best. I try my hardest, and that's it. And every day is a learning experience, and you got to look at it that way. I never ever once think, oh, I've done this quarter panel 100 times. I do it with my eyes closed. I don't. Doesn't matter how many quarter panels I've done. It's always a new day and a new game. You just don't know. So don't be scared to start out. Buy yourself a nice little welder. Just start with one that maybe plugs into 110. You can get these new ones now that are auto set. Actually, the one I got is auto set. I don't use the auto set on it, but it is auto set. But that might be handy for someone that's starting out new, and give it a whirl. So that's about it, guys. So I'm going to get back on the charger, get the bottom half of that quarter all finished up and welded up. The customer's coming out this weekend to take a look at it. And then I'm going to start cutting the other side off. So yeah, that's it. So hey, thanks for subscribing. Thanks for all the kind words about Roscoe. It's always a good time at old time, and we will see you next time.